I will remind you that the candidates have 2 minutes per question, and I will pass it over to my colleague, Ms. Alvina Vasquez, for our first question from the audience.
Thank you, and I want to remind everybody to please keep silent and allow both candidates to use their 2 minutes fully. What are your thoughts on a special prosecutor when an officer is charged with a crime? What are the pros and cons? Ms. Dax?
So the pros would be that there's a perception, sometimes valid, sometimes not, that a district attorney's office is too familiar or too comfortable or too close to a particular officer that may be involved in a particular incident that needs to be investigated. So the pro would be having more of an independent, outside viewpoint in the prosecution of that case. The con would be the concern that if you turn that case over to a different district attorney's office, they may not have the same investment, the same interest in seeing that case through, because it's outside of their jurisdiction, it's being done through sort of a cooperative agreement with another district attorney's office. So there are certainly pros and cons to that scenario, and one of the things that's very important to make clear is that the district attorney's office must prosecute officers who violate the law just like anyone else. And so to the extent that there's a concern that there would be some sort of favoritism or not, I can tell you that I've personally prosecuted police officers, I've gone to trial, and sought convictions for their criminal behavior as well. So the importance of the district attorney is to ferret out justice equally to everyone in the community who violates the law, including, when it occurs, unfortunately, police officers as well.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
Yes, thank you. It's not practical, the way we have our system set up, to have another DA's office come out and investigate an officer-involved shooting. And the reason why is I'm out there right away. I'm out there within hours of the shooting taking place to make sure the integrity of the investigation is followed. What we do here in Addams and Broomfield County, we have a critical incident team that's made up of all the agencies in Broomfield and Addams County that goes out and investigate officer-involved shootings. The agency that the officer is part of does not have anything to do with that investigation. I myself have been out to several of these. We have chief trial deputies that go out as well. We now have an investigation unit that is capable of investigating and take a major role in this as well. At the end of the day, as I alluded to in my opening statement, it's about doing the right thing. And unfortunately, I have a track record, and unfortunately, we've had to charge police officers. The Kevin Lord case comes to mind right away. You may be familiar with this case. This was a Commerce City police officer who reported that someone had shot him. We had all our resources investigating this incident, thinking we had a cop killer on the streets. The critical incident team was called out. I personally went out to help investigate this incident. We learned fairly quickly that this may have been a self-inflicted gunshot. The investigation turned into a criminal investigation against that police officer. And it wasn't a very comfortable situation when cops had to investigate other cops. But everyone in the room was in it for the right reasons, and we did the right thing, and the right thing is to get to the truth as to what happened. We ended up charging that officer. He's pled guilty, and hopefully he's going to get the help that he needs if he will never be a police officer again. That's what justice is about. When I was sworn in as a district attorney, I took an oath to enforce the law, no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your background, your political affiliation. And if you're a police officer, you break the law, I'm going to prosecute you. And we're doing it.
Thanks, Todd. This next question from the audience. And Mr. Young, you will go first. What's your understanding and opinion of Senate Bill 181, the partial remedy for juveniles serving now unconstitutional life without parole sentences? You have 2 minutes.
I appreciate that question, as that is a very hot issue in my office right now, and that I'm taking very seriously. We have 7 cases now where juvenile offenders are serving life sentences without parole. In all 7 of those, I am looking into those, and I'm going to do what's right in those. The one that comes to mind right away is Mr. Ruiz Gutierrez case. He was 17 when he committed a murder. He was a driver of a vehicle where someone who was a passenger in that vehicle shot at an individual, seriously injuring them, and then shot at another person and killed them. Went to trial in 1997 when he was 18 years old. He was convicted and is now serving a life sentence. The defense attorneys came to me in December and told me about Isel's story, the things that he's doing in prison. And I looked into the case, and I'm currently reviewing trial transcripts in that case. And I'm not doing it because I have a lot of extra time to read. I'm doing it because I want to do the right thing in that case. I drove to Lyman, Colorado, and interviewed Isel for an hour to get to know him, to talk to him about the case, because I want to do the right thing. I'm a strong believer that the criminal justice system is not a cookie-cutter system. Each individual should be looked at on an individual basis. Each case should be looked at on an individual basis. And that's what we're doing with these 7 cases that I have where juvenile offenders are serving life sentences. I'm starting with Isel because that was the first case that came to my attention through the defense attorneys. And at the end of the day, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to do justice. We're going to do justice for what the community wants to see happen, for what the victims of those crimes want to see happen, and for what the defendant would like to see happen. And that's what my job's about, and that's why 25 years of experience is essential in doing that job.
Ms. Addams.
So 181 was a very important first step in this conversation, and this progress has to happen. The United States Supreme Court has said you need to address the dozens of juveniles who are currently serving life sentences without the possibility of parole, and there needs to be an impetus in addressing this. So I support 181 and its effort to address this problem. We can't continuously go back and forth and leave sort of this legal quagmire in place, which is what has been occurring for many years. And so it is unfortunate that this has gone back and forth so many times. I do think this action needs to be taken. There's been so much scientific research on the fact that juveniles' brain development is not complete until they're into their early 20s. We have to look at that research. We have to address these cases. They cannot just sit in limbo. Some of these cases are absolutely heinous, and it's horrific for these families to continue to go through this back and forth with legislative sessions and testifying. I recognize that. But I still believe strongly that this conversation has to occur and that we need to address it so that the United States Supreme Court, once it has spoken, we have to do something about this. So I do support this progression in taking this action and addressing these juveniles who are serving these sentences and coming up with a solution to this.
Thank you, Ms. Addams.
What are your positions and experience with regards to legalization, decriminalization, and abuse of marijuana and use of prescription drugs in Addams County? Ms. Addams.
So, with Amendment 64, obviously there's been legalization of marijuana, and it has shifted our criminal justice system significantly into looking less at personal possession and use, but more towards distribution and other effects of these prescription drugs. Specifically, on that point, we are seeing a huge increase in opiate use. There's no doubt about that. We are seeing a lot of community programs about getting help and assistance for this. I think it's important to look historically at what has happened in the United States regarding the over-criminalization of resulting mass incarceration from specifically drug arrests and how that has affected certain populations in our country. There's no doubt about that. And so I do believe that if we're talking about distribution of hard drugs in our schools and affecting our young folk, I absolutely think that needs to be addressed. But I also think we need to shift our criminal justice system into not the over-arrest. We can't arrest ourselves out of these problems. We need to have a movement towards therapeutic courts, because so many of our violent crimes, so many of our property crimes even, stem from underlying addiction issues. And so I don't think we're going to arrest our way out of this problem. I do think we need to take a longer view and get to the root of the problems of addiction and look at how can we better serve our community in treatment courts. I totally support the therapeutic intervention treatment courts on the 17th. I think that they are changing lives. I think that is the progression of our system, and I think it's an important change in our criminal system that we're looking at the underlying root causes of problems and trying to get to the heart of those issues rather than arresting folks on low-level offenses, resulting in over-incarceration. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, marijuana is legal now, but I can tell you as a prosecutor, we were never prosecuting a 40-year-old who had a small amount of marijuana who was smoking dope after work. That just didn't happen. The individuals we go after are the dealers, the people who are pushing drugs to schools. My concern with legalization of marijuana is the kids. The message we give the kids when we say marijuana is okay in Colorado. I know it's going to have an impact on the graduation rate, which in turn will have an impact on the criminal justice system, because if we can't get kids to graduate from high school, the odds of us seeing it in the criminal justice system increase dramatically. Prescription drugs is a major problem. We have a diversion program that's very aggressive in giving help to these individuals. We sent first-time drug possessors to our diversion program before there was any drug form in the Colorado statutes. We sent them there without them ever having to plead guilty to anything. They went there without a criminal record, and they succeeded coming out with ever having a criminal record. And they never come back to the criminal justice system again. That's being smart on crime. We go after the major dealers. The other unfortunate byproduct of marijuana being legal in Colorado is the cartels are here. And if we don't think the cartels are here, come visit my office and I'll tell you some of the cases we have as a result of marijuana. Colorado is now a hub for distribution of marijuana throughout the rest of the country. There's a reason why our neighboring states are suing Colorado, because marijuana is constantly going out to other states. That's not what the people of Colorado voted to have when they legalized marijuana, but that's a direct impact of the legalization of marijuana. It's here. We're not going to prosecute people as long as they stay within the bounds of the regulations. They are under-regulated right now. We need more regulation. You guys see all the marijuana industry businesses that are in downtown Denver. It's now leaked into Addams County. They are not all on the up front. They need to be regulated.
Thank you. The next question from the audience, starting with Mr. Young, is what are your thoughts on the death penalty? You have 2 minutes.
When I took an oath 25 years ago to be a prosecutor, I took an oath to enforce the laws of the state of Colorado. The death penalty is a law in the state of Colorado, and it's recognized as the maximum potential penalty that you can get on a Class 1 felony. When you take an oath, even as a prosecutor 25 years ago, I took an oath to enforce the laws. I don't get to pick and choose which laws I enforce. That is an enforceable law in the state of Colorado. When I took the oath as the district attorney, I had already done 3 death penalty cases. I know what it takes to do a death penalty case. I know the impact it has on victims of crimes. I know the impact it has on the community. And I know how dragged out and long the process can be. But I also know that it can also achieve potential quick resolution. Because you see, I've also had a half a dozen other cases where the death penalty may or may not have been on the table, and the defense attorney comes to me and says, my client's willing to plead to life right now, will you do that? And then I'm able to get the victims of those crimes in and explain the process and say, here's our options. In Colorado, the maximum penalty is the death penalty. The defense attorney is willing to plead to life without prison, without parole now. That means there's no appeal. That means there's not going to be a 3-year process in the trial. Each trial I did was 3 months long. Although the death penalty is on the books, the death penalty does not work in Colorado. So I can tell you, we've had 3 cases since I've been in Addams County District Attorney's Office. One when I was the assistant DA for Don Quick, that we talked about it, that resolved quickly to a life sentence. And that family didn't have to go to it. More importantly, the kids that witnessed that crime didn't have to testify. I have had 2 as the elected DA, and has not chose to pursue the death penalty, even though these are the worst of the worst, and there's no question that these individuals committed these crimes.
Thank you. Ms. Betts to